Please welcome Dr. Karolina Sauer-Sidor, entrepreneur, CEO, and co-founder of Cocox, an AI-driven platform empowering small and medium-sized businesses to grow and thrive in a digital world.
Drawing on her global experience as a former McKinsey partner and a transformation expert, Karolina will share how customer-centric innovation with AI can drive real sustainable impact, not just for large corporations, but also for the entire business ecosystem. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Karolina Sauer-Sidor.
You have microphone. Yeah.
Did you know that less than 50% of businesses are actually on track to deliver on their innovation agenda for their products and services for the next 2 to 5 years? Less than 50%. This is scary, but these are also the results of our study with more than 1,200 businesses. My name is Caro, and what I would love to spend time on today is how to actually innovate with impact towards the customer, with the customer in the center, with AI. It actually feels a little bit like a special place for us and for me to come back, because when we started, my 2 co-founders are actually alumni from Nokia. So one of them spent more than 25 years in Nokia and has been a group CEO, so it feels quite special, Jörg. And the other, Andreas, used to be a Nokia network CFO and also spent almost 10 years here. So it's a very special place for us to come back. 2 free words about myself, even though it has been already a bit said. Caro, I come from Poland originally, so actually quite close. I love to jump into the unknown. With at the age of 23, I went to China. This is where I started my career in lobbying between China and the EU, leading a program. And then from lobbying, went into consulting and have for many, many years, and actually decades, worked with businesses all around the world, from Australia on the one side and on the other side, the Americas, to help them grow, transform, and digitize. And my wish, my vision, has been to bring the best expertise to any of the businesses in the world. If you think about it, in the EU, there are 26 million small, medium-sized businesses. They make more than 50% of the GDP, but there's a productivity gap of 40% towards big businesses. And our vision has been to provide that expertise and close the gap. And this is what actually AI makes possible. It makes possible a disruption that has not been there before. So what is innovation? Innovation actually means a lot of things to a lot of people. For many, it's something that's completely new, something that just needs to be that completely new way to a new problem. But it doesn't have to be, actually. It can be a new way of solving an existing problem. And this is where we come at. We actually found a problem, the challenges that the businesses face, and wanted to basically address it in a very, very different way. So if you look at the different types of innovation, you will see the product innovation, new products coming into the market, new services. You'll see the customer innovation, and this is where my heart is at, which is anything that we're doing should happen with a customer in the front. Then, of course, the radical innovations, which changes completely the way how business happens. Imagine a workflow which in the past has taken weeks or months and a lot of budget, and this happening in days, in hours, and accessible at much smaller cost to businesses that have not had that access. In many cases, of course, there is technology, there is business model. For us, what it means is it all needs to come together. We often hear the word AI, and we hear it actually every day and everywhere. But it's about solving a specific problem rather than just making something AI. No? So if you look at the businesses, you'll see the top priorities for the next 2 to 5 years. You see at the very top innovation, 40% of businesses are looking into innovation as one of their top 3 priorities, next to growth and next to customer experience. However, and this is the aha moment, only 46% of the businesses are actually on track to innovate for the next 2 to 5 years. They have a plan, and they're actually in plan to achieve. This is a huge delta and a huge gap, but you can think about it that gap is actually much larger. Why? Because this is a self-assessment. And also over the next 2 to 5 years, even more companies will be behind. So how can it be that innovation is number 1, but actually businesses don't achieve the innovation? So what have we done? How have we done the innovation that we're now at? And then we'll take it forward into what are some of the lessons. So for us, it's been the four steps that you see. The first thing is we started with a problem to solve, and not an application that we wanted just to implement. So our problem, as mentioned, is 26 million businesses alone in the EU, 40% productivity gap. This is huge, correct? So if you look at a business that has 100 employees, 500 employees, 20 employees, this is the backbone of our industry, regardless if here or actually anywhere in the world, more than 50% of the GDP. But these businesses, many are going out of business, out of cash, have significant challenges, and they don't have access to the expertise. A big business has access to expertise. They have access to their strategy department, external consultants, finance, and so on. So our vision has been, how can we make it possible that a small business, regardless if it has 1 or 10 or 100 employees or 500 employees, has the same access to problem solving, to business expertise as a big multinational business has. And that's a challenging thing actually to do, because these businesses are quite local, have also quite specific challenges. So we basically said our objective is to help these businesses grow and innovate and improve performance with specific personalized solutions. So what it means is, how can we scale the problem where any business, regardless if it's a small business or a big business, comes with a challenge, which is, I want to expand into a new market. I want to increase my market presence or my brand awareness. I want to improve my digital channels. Can get a personalized solutions that is a fraction of cost, a fraction of time, and therefore affordable. That was the challenge that we have put ourselves, and we knew it needs to happen with a platform, with an AI-powered platform, and experts that are linked. We didn't yet know how. So how have we actually started? Is we basically went to and researched more than 1,200 businesses in 7 European countries. And we said, okay, what are actually the problems of these businesses? What do they face as a challenge? We figured out what are the challenges. We figured out what are the priorities. Growth has been one of the top of the elements, growth, innovation, customer experience, but many challenges that all these businesses had. And then we said, okay, how can we actually build something that helps these businesses? So what we've done is we have set up from the very first sprint, and back then there was no platform, there was no architecture, nothing yet. We basically sat down and said, okay, let us define an ideal workflow that would look like from a problem definition. So my problem is, I want to double my revenues for a business that has 50 employees and is a production business somewhere in Budapest, for example, through a personalized diagnostic that is only there for that business, then a personalized plan with initiatives with specific outcomes for that business, and the execution, because all these businesses want to execute. They don't care about just a plan. And we have first built how that ideal process would look like. And then we started testing. Over the period of time, we had roughly 50 users that we're testing with per sprint. So each of the sprints was about 2 weeks. and we tested with 10 to 20 users, all the businesses, how to actually make that happen. And then we started building very small MVPs with AI, individual small agents that were able to start test first elements of the process, not yet the full thing. We knew there is not yet a platform. It's going to take time. So we started with every single process. For example, how to break down a problem into drivers, how to diagnose a business that you know you only have 20 minutes to actually diagnose. So the leader has 20 minutes. They don't have a month or 2 months or 3 months as a consultant. It's impossible for a small business. So if you only have a moment, how will you diagnose that? So there was another agent. Then another agent was, how do we bring the insights from the diagnosis into actually a real plan? And then how do we actually execute it? That was actually one of the most difficult things, yeah? Not just the plan, but kind of like, okay, give them something that they actually can execute, not just tell them to do something. And we have built these very, very small agents. In many cases, really, it took us 2, 3, just a couple of days. And then we started testing them, really, really simple, yeah? And it was not perfect. It was just, there was no fantastic UX that we went to the customers with. It basically, partially, I remember, so you can imagine, like testing with customers on sheets that were just the output sheets that looked ugly, But it was the right thing, correct? Because we wanted to test what helps the businesses. And at the same time, so we tested the specific models. Then we tested UX. So at the same time, we started testing really each of the elements of the UX. How does it feel? How does it look like? And then we started to actually to model across the whole process to then bring it all together, correct? At first with AI, with the automation, and with all the layers that we're basically building. And you need to imagine per year, we're probably doing around 100 improvements. Yeah? So it's kind of like 2 to 3 improvements a week, yeah, that you kind of like, you keep on going. Yeah? And then after that, once we said, okay, this is kind of working, we basically built a real digital twin. Yeah? So we picked the whole thing together, and we built a digital twin like a problem solver, correct? So imagine a problem solver that takes any of the major business problems and breaks it down into the drivers, the diagnosis, the plan, and then the execution. Yeah? And this digital twin then is on an execution, so like a DXP execution platform that is, of course, front end towards the customer with a nice UX. Then there is an interaction with the customer, which is a companion. So this is called Q, yeah, like the Q from James Bond a bit. So this is an interaction where the customer gets on a side like an advisor, a companion. And then behind that, we have a whole infrastructure with, there is basically an AI problem solver that runs through all these different processes, data layer, AI layer, and so on. Yeah? So this is basically what we've built and then scaled. And for us, it's a continuous learning. So what we built is LLM agnostic. So we basically test different LLMs and see what works, what doesn't, and then basically continue evolving. Yeah, so that's basically, and right now we have a fully running platform, multiple countries. What are some of the insights? Well, this is how it looks like. So a bit of the feel, correct? So you have like a fully digital, you could say, almost like a digital consultant, yeah? With the interface, so the execution basically that happens on the platform, the advisory, and then specifically the personalized plans that are there only for the specific business. For us, the innovation has had 6 elements, and this is when I looked into most of the businesses I've looked at. These are the 6 C's that I feel like none of the innovations really can do without. The first and really outmost is the customer focus. So really starting with the customer in mind and integrating the customer from the very beginning in every single sprint, and also after go live. It doesn't matter where in a stage you are. We believe in testing and co-creating with customers. And for us, this continues. It doesn't matter that we get, for example, good feedback. We continue testing, we continue evolving, we continue bringing customers to actually test with. The second is the creation process. So I'm of a belief that the innovation happens in daily just define some kind of just use cases, and this is what we do. It's about the small improvements and the small changes that we can do every single day. Then the collaboration, it happens together. We actually integrate much better as a team together. The right competences, we'll talk about it actually, because this is one of the key things that we see missing. Culture as an enablement and capital. I'll go into a couple of these just to go through. So we believe, and I believe, not in building for customers, but in building with customers for customers. So bringing the customer into your engine room, into the sprints, and really solving their problem. If we're not solving a problem of a specific customer, why do we need that? And the customer co-creation should become the real DNA of the business. And how do you prove that? You prove that when you have an established system where the customers come to you with ideas for the roadmap, with feedback, where this basically turns completely around and the customers come to engage with us. And to be honest, some of the best features we have ever built have been customer proposed. And this is the amazing thing, where the customer calls you and it's like, well, I have an idea. I'm sure you guys will never implement it because this is too crazy, but let us do it. So in our case, for example, the plans that we have built, when we started, we didn't know if we will be able to build personalized plans for businesses in multiple languages, in multiple industries, in multiple countries, multiple stages, and multiple topics so fast. So we started first with best practice plans, and we thought, look, at the beginning, we thought we'll have thousands of these, and then we will be building out of that the plans that work. But we realized we can do much faster personalization, and it was the customers that came to us and said, look, I want a plan for me. I don't care about the best practice plan. I want my plan. So we basically realized, OK, we can do these plans. And this has become basically the top seller of what we're doing. Or the next thing became the plans were at the very beginning, they felt static, correct? So you couldn't, you had the plan, and then there were initiatives, and you were not able to really revise the plan live in seconds. Yeah? And we said, look, this needs to happen, right? So we then made the plans completely interactive, whereas either us or the customers can, in seconds, update the plans dynamically. They can give feedback, they can revise them, and they can work on them. So I think if you take one thing, that's the one thing to actually to take out of it. Then the creation process. As mentioned here, I believe in the leaders spending time, and everyone spending time, in the engine room. That's what I would say. Because we see only when we really work. So in our team, we work basically hand in hand on and with the AI applications. And we spend time daily on challenging and pushing them, and we're still naturally not yet happy. But if I was not spending time every day on the one hand side with customers, on the other side testing the tool myself and sitting directly with our developers and seeing how can we improve it, how can we drive it, it's basically going in different ways. So therefore, the mini improvements daily. Problem first, then solution. We see often businesses actually first trying to say, hey, this is a cool thing, and let's just try to do something, and we need to use some we need to use some AI maybe in this area or that area, but what's the problem we're solving? For us, the problem has been clear: to provide the solutions, help businesses grow, and build personalized plans in 90% less cost and 90% less time from idea to a plan. And this was the challenge that we put ourselves and made it accessible to any business. So what's the problem that you're solving? And then last but not least, this quick MVPs. So don't wait for months and build something and then let's figure out if the customer like it. No, build something. It can look ugly. It can be really just a mini element of what you want to do. But go and test, bring the customer in. And this makes the biggest difference. The biggest difference. Does it look ugly? Oh yeah, it looks ugly. Yeah? You need the right customers that basically, you explain to them briefly, yeah? But customers love it. And you save weeks, if not months, and you directly get acceptance because some of these customers become then your biggest cheerleaders across, and you already have tested it. So, competences. I'm looking at the time just to make sure we're good. We often talk about competences as an opportunity, but this is one of the biggest challenges, and you can see across the board. Digitization is number one. Digitization and analytics, management are the top missing capabilities of the businesses. That's what the businesses really want to improve. My belief of improving it is not just it's cool or sitting in a room. It's really working with that. It's bringing real cases that each and every one of us can actually test. And my tip is always to say, take just one small problem. I think before you talked about how you actually can test and how you can improve. I say take one problem and try to improve it every single day by 1%. After a week, after 2 weeks, the improvements are already significant. But it's about really building use cases and trying through them, like live and implementation. How good is going to be our innovation and our AI applications if it's not implemented? I'm often being asked about the trends, and my wish is not just the new things we're bringing, but the fact that the businesses around the world truly use it to their advantage. And this is the scary thing, right? You remember what I talked to you about in terms of innovation. Only 35% of businesses are actually on track building their capabilities. Digitization, analytics. So this is basically key to think about when we think about implementing with AI and testing with AI. Last but not least, and probably one of the biggest, so for me personally, apart from the customer and the daily improvement, probably one of the biggest things is setting up the right culture. So things will go wrong, things will break, as it feels. We need to come in with a positive mindset. It's a can-do attitude. And in the very first time, we actually don't know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. But bringing to the team the positive mindset of can-do. Let's try. Let's do it. I trust you. I know things might break. And look, in our situations, things have broke. They broke. We had also a situation where we basically did something, and then our companion was not interacting at all. Yeah, so we kind of went off for 2-3 hours, and we're like, well, the platform was there, but we were happy that it was actually in an early stage. So mistakes will happen, and putting in the team that test and learn mindset. I trust you. Let's test it, and things will break also in front of a customer. It's never going to be perfect, but it's perfect tested than. Well, it's better tested than perfect. Accepting mistakes, courage, and trust. We trust each other, and we have the courage to jump into the unknown and try something. Think about all of your businesses, and you will find things that you can do very, very differently. So what can you actually innovate? Let's have the courage to try things And this is what we need. We talk about what brings us forward. Each one of us can start with just one thing and with ourselves. So what do I have the courage to test? Passion, trust, resilience. I think we've talked about that. So coming back, if you were to think about and remind yourself of something on the presentation, I would say these are the 6 C's of the innovation, with the innovation in the center, with the customer in the center, where customer is part of your innovation process from day 0, and then in every single sprint until go live, as well as after, with the right small MVP, small release, small improvement process, supported by the right culture. So, are you innovating with your customers? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And time check. We will have time for questions. So, any questions in the room? Yeah, one. Can you give that? That's the microphone.
Thank you. You mentioned that your platform is LLM agnostic. How do you manage to do that?
So the way how we basically do it, so we have built, if you think about the stack and how the stack is built, we have the front end, which is the DXP platform. So this is the one that basically interacts with the customer. No? And then linked to that, we basically have the whole data layer and the AI player that is behind that. So the AI layer is built with a set of different agents which have the ability, so within the code, yeah, it's built within the code where we can actually quite quickly change and adapt the models. So I'll need to bring basically the development team to tell you exactly what's in the code, but it's in the code that is written down how we can actually change and which model do we anchor in. We right now work with 2 specific models, but we on a regular basis we basically test new models, either new models or other models, and then we decide if we actually are replacing it.
Thank you for the questions. Other questions, even from the other side, maybe? Yeah.
Can you tell about your customers? Who are them? What they want? Just what solution you offer to them? Just maybe more precise, because it's not clear.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Absolutely. So our customers are, to a large extent, small and medium-sized businesses. So they are between 1 or just a couple of people to several hundreds of people. They come from multiple industries. So we have technology as an industry. We have technology infrastructure. We have software. We have retail. We have services. We have producing businesses, so businesses that produce different goods, both towards B2C and B2B markets. From a stage perspective, there are businesses that are startups, so some that they're just building their business, some that are already well established, so not only a couple of years, but often a couple of decades. And the topics that they come to us with is, the biggest one is growth. So how can I grow my business, for example, via a digital channel, via digital ways? How can I build my brand awareness? How can I scale my operations? I'm growing strongly. I want to scale my operations. How can I build a strong performance management? How can I improve my performance management? So I would say growth is the biggest across all of the ones, and growth with each element. So can be, how do I grow into new markets, for example? How do I grow in existing markets? But also things like operations, finance, and even very specific topics, like, for example, integration planning. I have different businesses, and there's an integration planning process. And that's what they come to us with. And what we do is, you could imagine it's quite similar to, if you kind of like rewind back some time to a traditional model where offline you would have, you could say, a project. For example, I want to go into a new market. You would do a diagnostic. You would then build a plan, usually with many PowerPoint pages, and you'll do many steering committees and many iterations and so on, and then hopefully go and do the execution. So we have digitized all of that. So there are no PowerPoints. We use no PowerPoints. Actually, this was one of my first presentations I have done since I founded the business. And all of that is digital. And we're able, roughly, depending on the business, within 1, 2, or 3 days, go from idea, I want to increase my revenues through digital channels, through a full cycle of defining the problem, diagnostic for that business, and having a plan on the platform that's ready for execution. So within 3 days, then the businesses go and execute. So then the 95% of time is going into execution. So it doesn't go into 17 different iterations, and then we build multiple PowerPoint pages and so on. Does that answer your question? It's like a digital consultant, basically, yeah? So you can think about like digitizing the consultant, yeah? For any business, you know, and we focus on small, medium businesses.
And I believe you have some suppliers or vendors who serve them to implement these ideas or not.
Yeah.
How you solve it?
So that's a great question. And I think this comes back to this, will AI replace all of us? There's going to be one more question. So will AI replace us? For us, it's a hybrid model. So the way how we've built the model is, as we said, so we have the whole workflow. So with the platform, automation, AI, data layer, it's basically, this is all digital, but we have specific interactions where there is human in the loop. And we have defined which ones are the most important ones. And there we have people, you know, for example, that have been, if there is a finance topic, that have been 25 years in finance, including having been a CFO, or if there is an operations topic, it's someone that has been 25 years or whatever, 30 years in operations. Plus, there is an interface to the customer. So people do speak to a person because they want the emotions, correct? If you think about it, people want to speak to a person, they want the emotions, they want the experience, but there is a lot that you can digitize, correct? So you kind of like, you make it much shorter and much more, in that sense, impactful, yeah? But yeah, you're fully right, yeah?
Thank you, and there was one last question here.
Thank you. My question was a little bit similar to the point to what you got just at the end of your answer. So my question was around the engagement in the innovation process. So very often, of course, innovation processes are very expensive and can be very long. So you help companies to shorten this. But also these innovation processes bring a lot of energy, the sweat and tears, the months that the team spends together on creating something new that also creates an enthusiasm, a will to sell it. So basically we get also ambassadors of the changes. How do you experience, does this human part, the people who are participating in the innovation, what does it do with the team?
I love that. I love that question. And look, imagine, and I'll share a very personal story. So I've spent, I don't know, 20 years working in corporate, correct? So being a consultant to big businesses, yeah. And when we started, imagine an ex-partner from a large consulting firm, from a top management consulting firm, going into small and medium-sized businesses and saying, I actually want to innovate and disrupt completely how we're serving small and medium-sized businesses. So at the beginning, people looked at me and went like, you probably have just no idea about us, correct? You've served this big corporate, so how can you actually do it? So naturally, at the very beginning, the very first steps, also for us, have been challenging. You know, you stand there with your own experience and with your own vision, and you have left a top job, in order to build something from scratch and to innovate in a group that is a little bit conservative, correct? So you know, the very beginning, I must say, has not been easy, yeah, to do that engagement. But the way how we have, at the very beginning, how we have started is, and how we have felt it, is that there's been the early adopters, the people that were excited and interested. And this is how it usually starts, correct? You start with just a couple of people that are saying, you sound like you have a good idea. Let me try it. I don't actually know if it's going to work or if I will ever pay you money for what you're doing, yeah? But let me try. And then very quickly with time, it has completely changed. Completely changed. So the first step, it's a very unpleasant one. Yeah, it's people look at you and say, what have you actually done? But very quickly, the openness happens. And I must say now, so we have founded July 2024. Now, if I look at one year forward, we have businesses coming to us saying, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Let me just try it. Yeah, and the innovation happens both ways. Yeah, it happens by people bringing innovation to us, even for our own business. People bring innovation to their own business and being open. So it's always that kind of like a collaboration element. But whatever you want to innovate, the first steps, people will look at you. They'll say, hey, maybe you're crazy. Why have you done that? So you need to try. And then over time, it actually changes quite quickly, at least in our case. Has that answered your question?
Thank you, Karolina.
Thank you.
So you can make in few days. My record is 5 days, so I have to speed up to make faster prototypes. So thank you very much for closing our speaker lineup with such an inspiration.